Well, welcome to today's rant, and I think today should probably be called a rave. I mean, the news, we haven't had a good news day like this in a long time. Uh, Absolutely amazing on a number of fronts, but the and I'm talking in the natural, of course, but the in the economy, the jobs report came out today. I think way better than expected. The economy added 313,000 new jobs, which is another big bump, another definite stride in the right direction. Wages were up 2.6%. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that in years. And, both of those things, of course, are very good. And, of course, the markets are responding and up several hundred points now. But let's talk also about everybody's being so negative about these tariffs. And I think it's going to end up, the tariffs are going to end up being another big victory for Donald Trump. Everybody's running around with their hair on fire, a lot of Republicans too, that they're just showing their ignorance, really, saying we're going to start a trade war and all this. I don't think so. There is no country in the world better positioned right now than the U.S. is to absolutely win any trade war decisively. And they're going to scream and holler. All the nations that have been taking advantage of us for so long are going to threaten, they're going to scream and holler. Everything else, because the game has changed and they know it. And there's going to be a fair trade if you're going to trade with the U.S. going forward. And I believe this is just the beginning. I think you're going to see all the nations line up. Listen, the ones who are screaming and hollering the most are the ones who are in the most dangerous situation if there were to be a trade war. Trust me, they don't want one. Remember what happened when Trump went to NATO? And he basically said, you guys either kick in what you're obligated to kick in, and you start paying for your own defense. We'll help you. We'll be the big covering. But if you don't start paying your fair share, we're pulling out of NATO. That's what he told them. They screamed and they hollered. They threatened. This is the end of the world. Russia is going to now become more bold, all this stuff. And then within weeks, every one of them was kicking in their fair share. Trump didn't boast about it, but he won that one big. Think about any battle that Trump has been in where the other side came out better than he did. Any battle, on any front. I'm just saying. The guy's got an incredible record. He really knows what he's doing. And he really understands what he's doing with these tariffs on steel and on aluminum. There has been an absolute, consistent, intentional attempt for certain nations to utterly destroy our steel and aluminum manufacturing ability in the U.S., which is a grave national security issue. No question about it. Right now, China, for instance, is threatening, saying this could start a trade war. Do you know what kind of tariff China charges our goods that are imported to China? 25%. Automobiles, they charge 25% on all the autos imported into China. You know what we charge Chinese automobiles imported into the U.S.? 2.5%, 10%. Is that fair trade? And we're running a $500 billion a year trade deficit with China. What does that mean? Altogether, we're running about an $800 billion trade deficit. What does that mean? That means $800 billion of our national resources, our national treasure, is being shipped overseas every single year. And almost all of that is the result of unfair trade practices, where we treat them one way and they treat us entirely differently. And all Trump's saying, look, you charge us tariffs, we're going to do the same to you. And we're going to level this playing field. I think you're going to hear about more tariffs, but I think what you're going to start seeing is in just a few weeks, it won't take too long, countries are going to start dropping their tariffs on our stuff if we agree to drop those tariffs on them. Or we just do it. We just both charge those tariffs, but it will get done. And you're going to see the balance of trade shifting. Now, it's okay for us to have a little bit of a deficit with some nations. There's some nations like we wanted to do with Europe after World War II, where we were glad to have a trade deficit with those nations while they're rebuilding their countries and their economies that had been so devastated by war. And in some certain cases with developing countries, we can afford to be generous like that. But with some countries that are taking huge advantage of us, has to stop. Absolutely has to stop. Or our national treasure, our national resources will continue to be drained from us. I mean, now, so anyway, I think Trump, another masterful move, another, I think, brilliant and important move. He's resilient, he's resourceful, and he's resolute. He's not going to cave on this. But watch the other countries who know they're doing wrong, who know they've been taking advantage of us, and we've let them do it for so long. They're just screaming and hollering when we quit letting them take advantage of us. But they know, and they'll come into line, and it will ultimately end up being good for everybody and bring about, I think, true free trade. But you can be sure, if there is a trade war, we will absolutely win it. And we'll win big. And it will change things. And I think anybody with any sense, any world leader who really understands these things, which you wonder if the only ones who didn't understand them were our leaders up until now. But they know they can't win such a thing against us. And our economy is getting stronger by the day. So, just saying, I think it was a brilliant move. I think it's going to result in a lot of good and necessary changes that will ultimately be in everybody's favor. Okay, another big, great, unbelievably great news. North Korea's Kim Jong-un has invited Trump to face-to-face meetings, and Trump accepted. Without hesitancy, he said, yeah, I'll be there. Let's do this. And just the talks that have been going on between Kim Jong-un and his South Korean counterparts have revealed some amazing things. All I'm saying, the guy may be far smarter on Kim Jong-un than anybody gave him credit for. And anyway, there could be a real turnaround there. Here's the potential, I think, for, the denuclearization of North Korea and no lives lost. And I think an attempt for North Korea to really join the rest of the world, the rest of the nations. And I would definitely be for us helping them. If they denuclearize, get rid of their nukes, their missiles, and all that, and show they really are going to behave and not be the rogue nation that they've been for so long. You know, we need to help them. We need to help them develop their economy. Their people were in the worst shape in the world. They had to release their soldiers to go home to scrounge for food, and they couldn't even feed their soldiers, and the whole country is starving. So I'm praying, and I ask you to do this. Keep praying for that situation. Pray for this meeting to come. You know, everybody who's met with Trump walks away really liking him. He is a likable person. He is, you know, sometimes sharp and harsh and you know, not too diplomatic, to say the least. He says some things that can irritate you, but he's never done this before. He's never been a politician. He didn't know how to polish. And I appreciate the fact that he's an honest man. He shares what he really feels and believes, whether you like it or not. But everybody's met with him. Remember, Carlos Slim went to meet him. And supposedly the most wealthy man in Mexico came out of that meeting really liking Trump, saying all kinds of great things about him, and even saying, I think Mexico can help build that wall. You know, I mean, it's great. But I've met with him the same way. He is so personable, so friendly, so gracious. He is a different person than he comes across. His persona comes across sometimes. And just about everybody says it. I'm really hoping that somehow he and Kim Jong-un hit it off in a way that we not only get the denuclearization of North Korea, but the North Korean people are set free, are ultimately set free. Now, wouldn't that be a great miracle for the Lord to take someone who's done so much evil and turn him into someone who does great things for his country and turns it around from being the hermit kingdom to being a truly great nation like South Korea. South Korea has become, it runs almost every year. It's either the 6th or 7th biggest economy in the world. One of the most advanced. Seoul, South Korea, you go there, is supposedly the most high-tech city in the world. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's an incredible place. The South Koreans are incredible people, and I believe the North Koreans will be too. And I'm just saying, could this really be worked out without a war? Because there's no way we could allow with the behavior that North Korea has had and the threats, there's no way we can allow them to keep those nukes. It's not going to happen. But I'm praying that it works out, and somehow they at least have a respectful meeting and come away with something that leads to peace, an acceptable peace on that peninsula. Who would have thought it? And I don't know. This would be, you know, I can't imagine any other diplomatic breakthrough, maybe even our lifetime, that would measure up to what that would be if it turns out good. It could turn out bad. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical of what is actually accomplished by that meeting. But let's pray for the best. Let's pray for North Korea. Pray for their leaders. And pray for ours. Great things are happening. Great things in the world. Now remember, I started, sharing it's going to be a rocky first year for Trump. Then it's going to level out. Even some of the really liberal news sources have been saying positive things about Trump lately. That was prophesied, that even the media would turn. And I think we're starting to see some of the first signs of that. They lose every time they fight with Trump. And they've lost unbelievable credibility, share of the people's respect and attention in the country, and we need a strong, honest media. We definitely do. But things are turning. And, I mean, Trump's approval rating's been, bumping right at 50%. And so I think some good times are ahead. I told you that I thought we were headed for the Revelation 7:1 time where the winds of the earth would be stilled. It said the Lord sent his angels to hold back the four winds of the earth. Not heavenly winds, but the winds of the earth, while he sealed his bondservants. And I think that's the time we're entering into. And when we enter into it, there will be a period of time of relative great stability and relative peace. There are always some kind of conflicts going on somewhere in the world, but this one's going to be, I think, one of the most stable times that we may have known in our lifetime, and maybe even for a long time before that. It's because God has a work to do. So are you going to be one of those bondservants of the Lord? That's a major issue. That's the valley of decision. That's what we've got to decide on. And I believe you're going to see God putting his mark on his bondservants. Thank you for listening to today's rave. It's good news. Let's pray that tomorrow the good news continues.